let's take a look at some of these Web Security Academy ones. I just did the first 4 of the cross-site scripting earlier today, so I'll do those. So the first couple are extremely easy. This is the most common case, reflected cross-site scripting. So let me open up the lab, and this is the most common case you see all the time where you have a search engine. Let's wait for this thing to load up. Okay, so you have a search engine, and if you search for like Fred, search, it says results for Fred. And what it's doing is it's just echoing back what you put in, even if it has tags. So if you do italic Fred, and then search, it becomes italic. So this tells you they didn't block HTML code, so you can just put in a script like this, script alert 1/script. And by the way, whenever I'm doing this kind of work, I always put it in the clipboard or a notepad file because you very often have to modify it. Like, I'm not sure if I need to put a semicolon here or not. I'll try it this way. And it worked. I got a pop-up saying 1. So that's all there is for that one. This is the simplest case of reflected cross-site scripting. You can put in script tags and they bounce back and execute in your browser. All right. Now, the next one is stored cross-site scripting. That was reflected, where you put it in a parameter and it bounces back right on the next page, just once. This one here, you store the data, like the second order cross-site scripting we were talking about earlier, where you store the data and it then may affect many people who use the stored data. So here, all right, when it does that, just refresh it. It's taking a little bit longer to spin up on their server than the browser waited for. Okay, so now we are here again, and now we can put a post in. And I didn't bother to look at the tips because I figured it was easy enough. Since I have this in my clipboard, I just put this everywhere. If one of these fields is vulnerable, it'll then pop up a script. Now, if they have any validation, they'll notice that this is nonsense, and it noticed that that's not a good email address. And it said, and I even tried this to see if I can get away with that, but it won't let me do it. So I figured this is probably not the vulnerable parameter, so I'll change that to a better looking email address and post the comment. And, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's right, I had to do this, HTTP. There, okay. There, now it goes, and one of them worked. It said, so it stored, and it didn't pop up on my screen, so you might not think it worked, but it did work. If you go, I can get back to the lab. Okay, home. It's when you view the comments here. So when I view this one, now it pops up. Because that's why it's second order. It stored it, and it'll affect everybody that views this page. In fact, I might even get more than one. Okay, I didn't bother to figure out which field was vulnerable. One of those fields was vulnerable. Could have been any of them. Anyway, so there's that. That's the next simplest case, stored cross-site scripting. Now, this one here confused me a bit. I was able to solve it by obeying the instructions, but I don't completely understand it. So I'm going to try to explain it here, and maybe some smart student will help me understand why this works. So this is document object model based cross-site scripting. Every object in a HTML page has a path to it. The document is the whole page, and then you have body and forms and headers. You can refer to them, so you can change the contents of it. So what this one does is, once again, let me refresh it to get here. It's got a search function. Okay, and if I search for like frog and search, then it shows me the result, frog here. But it's not just putting the data right there. It's feeding it in using JavaScript. So if I right-click and inspect, then I can see here in the blog, there's a container. And down here's a thing called search. And there's a form. And somewhere,
you do a find fault. It's not easy.
How does find? I couldn't make find work. Where's find?
Control F.
Control F. Oh, good, thank you. That's what I couldn't find when I tried doing the survey. Thank you, good. So there it is. Frog is there, and there's only one of them. This one is literally coming back, and here's the second one. So there's an image tag that includes the word frog down here. Now, let me go to their hints and see if I can understand what's happening. So, yeah, this one, okay, this one I do understand. It's the next one that confused me. So the point is, I have a frog up here. Now, the first question I have is, why don't I exploit the first one? Can I exploit the first one? Let's try that. This is the simple one, like what we did before. So let's try that. If I put in italic frog, this does not turn italic. Now, this is a protection defense where it does HTML encoding on output. It did not send me a less than sign. It sent me, let's inspect this and you'll see. That's irritating that it doesn't find it. I'm glad you found the search. I couldn't find it before. Frog. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it would be I don't understand why this didn't execute. But why didn't this one turn italic? Notice this is colored and this is not colored. So I think it's the way this is showing. The point is, this is the yellow, the blue is active tags. I really think this is HTML encoded. For some reason, I'm not able to get to the source, and I don't really understand why. Maybe I can find it in Burp. See, I'd like to see the source of that page, and I have trouble figuring out how to get to it in the browser. So if I go to history, and down here, there's the search for frog, and see up here, it's present 3C. All right, so I go to the response, and now I search here for frog. Yep, that's what I thought. There it is. It HTML encoded it. It did an ampersand LT semicolon instead of a less than. That's why it didn't take effect. And the browser made that a little hard to see. But that's the point. That's why I can't do the same injection I did before. Because the literal word frog up here is using a defense to prevent the less than and greater than meta characters from being interpreted as script tags. So I have to use the second one. All right, and the second one is pretty easy to exploit. This one here, see, I'm inside an image tag. So all I have to do is add a quote and a closing angle bracket to escape the image tag, and then I can inject things after that. So the injection is what you had back here. It is this, a apostrophe, a quote, and an ending tag, and then you can inject another one. And so it probably is blocking script. In fact, let's try the one that ought to work there. The one that logically ought to work there, if it was simple, let me get a text document, because I'm showing you the steps of developing these. You can just put in the answer, but it's more fun to see how it works. So if I put in this, and then script, alert, 1/script, that might work. That would seem logical. Because, in fact, let's try it and see. So I put in this. And something bad happened here. See, part of it is hanging out. Let's try examine, inspect, and then search for frog. Oh, there's no frog. I forgot to put in the frog. Let's try alert. All right, there's the alert. There's the second alert. So here, it looks like it would work. Oh, I have an alert A. Did I put alert A? Oh, A is not going to work because I need alert 1. All right, this might work. But I mean, alert A is going to look for a variable named A. That's why it's better to use a number. Then it will always find it. This might work still. This would be a simpler attack than what they recommend, if it works. And it does work. Okay, so that's the simplest attack that would work. That's why I wondered why they used the more complicated one. So this is what I would do. However, they mentioned you do not need to use a script tag. You can use a method handler like onLoad. There's onError, onLoad, onFocus, onBlur. There's a bunch of these where when certain things happen, it will run the script. So you can run JavaScript when a condition is true, and this will run when something loads. And this is SVG to display vector graphics. So I don't really know why, but anyway, this will appear when you load the page. So this will do it as well, although it introduces another advanced feature that's not really necessary. Now when the page loads, it will run this script. And I don't think it really matters what tag you use here. And there it goes. So, all right, so there's a couple ways to do that one. Now the next one gets a little more complicated, and I may not be able to explain all the details. I did not understand it completely when I did it at home. This one uses location search inner HTML. So, let's get the lab up, and again, watch how it echoes the data back to us. Once again, I need to refresh it because it's taking longer than expected. Okay, so now if I search for frog and search, okay, now if I inspect this stuff and do Command F and search for frog, there's only one of them. So there it is. It doesn't appear, it's in a span ID frog here, but it's not put there literally from you. It's added there by a script. And here's the script that put it there. This gets the query and it puts it in the inner HTML of this getElementById. This is called DOM, Document Object Model. You have a document and then you look for the object called search method and then you change the HTML in there. So it's looking for search message, and the search message is this, ID equals search message. So this was filled in by JavaScript. Now, I don't understand the next thing. If you just try putting in the normal script, so if I just go through the same steps I usually do, let's try italic and see if that works. All right. It becomes italic. So it's apparently willing to copy HTML tags and put them up there. So I don't know why I can't just do this. That thing there. Why doesn't it just put that up there the way it put the italic up there? But it doesn't. In fact, now I get nothing. So now if I look at this, if I inspect, and then I look for, say, alert, there it is. It put it there. So why didn't it run? And I don't know. It did put it there, but I think it might be this. In fact, I think I might have just figured it out. What happens is it loads the page, then it starts executing the JavaScript from top to bottom. I think this is the answer. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is it. So when it hits this line, it has not been filled in yet. Then it goes down here and it fills it in, but since it's filling it in above, it won't take effect. I think that's the problem. It puts this text there after the JavaScript executing engine has already gone by. So you can inject JavaScript, but it won't run. And I'm pretty sure this is the answer because I remember from previous semesters, there's later ones where you have to do this. You have to inject it in the right place and put your script below that because the script executor is going through and it doesn't make a second pass. So I think that's the problem. It's a little bit subtle. So you have to use something else besides the alert one injection. And that's why you use one of those more complicated ones here. Oops, that's accessing the lab. That's not what I want. I want the hints. All right, so you use image source equals 1 on error equals alert 1 because I think the image tag, well, now I guess it passes through executing JavaScript and then it passes through again looking for images. This is why I think I need to learn more about how browsers work. Because I know when you load an HTML page, it comes in with just the tags, then it makes separate requests for all the images. Then at some point it runs to JavaScript. So if I have JavaScript at the bottom of the page that puts an image tag at the top of the page, does it really fetch the image? And apparently it does. And that's why I don't really understand exactly why this works and the script doesn't. But it does. So you'd have to understand more deeply all the stages of loading a web page, which is really pretty complicated. But this one will do it. If you inject that one, it will pop up the page. So it does try to load the image. So I'm making a little progress in understanding this, but not too much. And this is why, I mean, in practice, what you do is you just have a lot of these different ejections and try them. Unless you're really a ninja and you really understand deeply how the browser works. Those of us that are not that advanced will just have like a bunch of these and try them, because some of them work and others don't. A really good web developer would probably understand why this happened more than I do. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show you today. I'm going to stop the recording.